Hi viewers, good morning. Welcome to our channel APPA Public School Kalburgi. I am AJAYDUTT in today's class. In today's class, we are going to deal with the blood pressure. In the last class, we have studied about the structure of human heart, the pumping mechanism, that is the cardiac cycle. And in today's class, we are going to deal with the blood pressure. So, first let us know what do we mean by blood pressure. The force exerted by blood against its wall, against the wall of the blood vessels. Suppose if this is the blood vessel and the blood is flowing through this blood vessel. This is the blood vessel, that is the artery. So when the blood is flowing through this artery, so the blood is applying some pressure against the wall of the blood vessel, and this pressure is nothing but the blood pressure. This pressure is nothing but the blood pressure. So the normal blood pressure of human being is 120 millimeter mercury by 80 mmHg, that is millimeter mercury. So the instrument used to measure the blood pressure is sphygmomanometer. So it is an instrument which is usually used to measure the blood pressure in human beings, and the normal blood pressure is 120 mm by 80 120 mmHg by 80 mmHg. So let us understand what do we mean by this 120 mm, what does it represent, then what does this 80 mmHg represent. There are two types of blood pressure, that is when heart is pumping, that is one type of blood pressure, and when heart is not pumping, that is another type of blood pressure. So when heart is pumping, that means when heart is contracting, what is the blood pressure, and what is the blood pressure when the heart is relaxing. So contraction you already know, systole, and relaxation you already know, diastole. So 120 mmHg is the amount, the pressure exerted by the blood against the artery when ventricles contract. So contraction of ventricles will give rise to systolic pressure. It gives rise to systolic pressure. So it is measured in millimeter Hg. This is the unit to measure. So what amount of mercury, what is the pressure exerted by the blood against the wall of the artery is measured in mmHg. That is how much pressure is hitting the mercury level in the sphygmomanometer. That is the reading we are going to get, that is 120 by 80 mmHg. So when the heart is, so it is systolic pressure. The systolic pressure, systole already mean so contraction. And when heart, that is especially the ventricles, when ventricles relax, what is the pressure? So when ventricles contract, it must be of 120 mmHg compulsorily. When the ventricles relax, that is when heart relaxes, the pressure, minimum pressure must be 80 mmHg. So 120 mmHg by 80 mmHg is the minimum pressure, or which is the optimum pressure or normal blood pressure in the normal adults. This is must and should. This must be maintained compulsorily. Why this must be maintained compulsorily? Because we need continuous supply of nutrients as well as oxygen. So to take care of the continuous supply, or to continue the chain of supply of all these substances, we require the flow of blood, and that flow of blood is pressurized by heart. So when heart is contracting, it is forcefully pushing the blood to various organelles of our body, and to that we require one minimum pressure, that is 120 mmHg. And when heart is not pushing, So still the blood pressure is maintained, and the minimum blood pressure which is maintained when heart is relaxing is 80 mmHg. It is 80 mmHg. So now talking about the different types of blood pressures, systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. Systolic pressure 120 mmHg optimum range, diastolic pressure mmHg optimum range. Then what do we mean by the hypertension? What do you mean by the situation called as hypertension and hypotension? So hypertension mean, so if the blood pressure is more than 140 mmHg, if it is 140 by, if the blood pressure is more than 140 mmHg, that is systolic pressure, then it is said to be high BP or hypertension. So how do you define hypertension? It is a situation where the blood pressure of the normal blood pressure of the human being is above 140 by 90 mmHg. So this situation is called as hypertension. It must be above, and a serious concern, that is a very extreme situation, is when it is reaching about 180 ranges. So 180 by 140 it may be, or 160 it may be. So that situation is known as the hypertension. So you need not look into this. Just remember that if the blood pressure is above 140 by 90 mmHg, then this situation is known to be the hypertension. So when we are discussing about hypertension, there is also a word called as hypotension. So what is this hypotension? When the blood is not flowing through sufficient pressure, so that situation is known as hypotension. Hypertension above the normal ranges, hypotension below the normal ranges. So below the normal ranges means 90 by 60 mmHg is the range which is said to be, the situation is hypotension. 140 by 90 hypertension, above 140 by 90 is hypertension. And what is this hypotension? Below 90 by 60 is hypotension. So what are all the factors which are affecting the heart? That is, what are all the factors which are affecting the BP? The factors affecting the blood pressure are, first one is, I'll write the heading here first. Factors affecting the variation in blood pressure. First one is cardiac output, that is how much amount of the blood is pumped by the heart. Then comes volume of the blood, that is how much volume of blood you are having in your body. Third comes resistance. Fourth is viscosity. Viscosity of blood. So these are all the factors which are affecting the rate of the rate of blood pressure in the human beings. That is cardiac output, then volume of the blood, then resistance, then viscosity of the blood. So we'll just only focus on the resistance and viscosity. So cardiac output is also the essential one. So how much amount of the blood is pumped, it is also essential, and it is also varying. It is also causing some sort of disorders in the BP ranges. Then volume of the blood is also important. So because sometimes what is happening, so when you just face any sort of accident or major sort of accident, so lot of bleeding will be there, and due to lot of bleeding there is sudden decrease or drop in the volume of the blood. So drop in volume of the blood will reduce the blood pressure, and because of the reduced blood pressure, what is happening, so there is the heart attack, you can say. It is stroke, the heart gets stroke. So because of that also heart attack may be occurring. Then one more important cause of heart attack is the blockage in the coronary artery, or the artery supplying the blood to heart. So what happens, due to excess deposition of fats or proteins over there, so what is happening, there is the slight blockage in the artery, and because of the blockage in the artery, that will be high blood pressure, and it would ultimately lead to some kind of cardiovascular failures. Now coming to the viscosity of the blood. So resistance means there is an obstacle in the flow of blood, and that obstacle is mainly due to the deposition of fats and proteins in the what you call the lumen of the blood vessels. So if it is a blood vessel, so here and there we are having the depositions of fats, and deposition of these fats would create some sort of obstacles to the normal flow of the blood, and there would be a situation when there will be a complete block of these arteries. So that would lead to the blockage of the artery. So there are several methods to clear this. It is angiography, we have blast, it is clearing this arteries. Then open heart surgeries we are having, they would perform all these open heart surgeries, bypass surgeries and all those things in order to treat a person who is suffering with such a disorders. So these blood vessels are playing very crucial role in maintaining the normal health of a individual's heart, So viscosity of the blood. So what is this viscosity of the blood? Viscosity means the thick, how much thick the blood is. So if the blood is consisting too much amount of cholesterol or excess fats or trans fats, so what is happening there? So the blood is becoming slightly thick. So when blood is becoming slightly thick, so it is going to cause effect on the blood pressure. It is going to cause the effect on the blood pressure. So when you just take a syringe and you just take in the water in the syringe and you just try to inject it out, so the water would easily flow out of the syringe. But when you do this same thing with the oil, so the oil is also going very easily out of the syringe, but some kind of resistance, you find some kind of resistance, or slightly it goes out, but you need to apply a little bit of pressure to it because of the viscosity. So water is not so viscous compared to the oils. So therefore, we need to take care that the blood is thin, and the people those are suffering with this blood pressure, they are often given with the blood thinning medicines or drugs, which would definitely reduce the viscosity of the blood, and easy movement or flow of blood would be there. So this is all about the blood pressure, factors affecting the BP, then normal BP range, then hypertension, then hypotension, systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. That is 120 mm Hg is systolic blood pressure by 80 mmHg is diastolic blood pressure. So this is the one which the doctors are going to measure. So when you often visit any clinic or hospitals, this is all about the circulatory system. So there we are finishing about the blood pressure. Instrument used to measure the blood pressure is sphygmomanometer, then normal BP, that is 80 by 120 mmHg, then abnormal BPs like hypertension and hypotension, then factors affecting the variation in BP, that is cardiac output, it may be how much amount of blood is being pumped out, then what is the amount of volume, what is the volume of the blood in the body, then resistance, what are all the resistance caused. So then the viscosity of the blood is also one of the reason which would all these things are the reasons which can vary the BP. They can either cause the hypertension or they can cause the hypotension. So usually there is a variation in the blood pressure in the people those are above 40 or 45, also 40 or 50. So because of the broadening, either broadening of the arteries, that is when the arteries are broad enough, so the blood is not flowing through sufficient pressure, so that causes hypotension. And during some the other situation, when the arteries are blocked with fats and proteins and all those depositions over there, so there also it causes high resistance to the flow of the blood, and it is also going to cause some kind of disorders related to the cardiovascular system. So this is what we have learned in the today's class. So now we'll switch on to the next part of the chapter, that is excretory system. Excretory system. Excretion. What do we mean by excretion? So excretion mean the process of removal of the toxicants and the waste generated in the body. The process of removal or the process of elimination of the wastes and the toxicants generated in the body is known as excretion. So in excretion process, so we have two organs for the excretion, that is one is lung, the other one is the kidney. So apart from this lung and kidney, we are also having a different kind of glands which are also having role in getting rid of the waste material generated in the body, like it may be the sweat gland, it may be the sebaceous gland. So they are also having role in the process of the elimination of waste and toxicants in the body. So nature of wastes. So the nature of waste is, the waste may either be gaseous wastes, it may be nitrogenous wastes. After gaseous and nitrogenous waste, there may be some other additional waste like like water, dissolved salts, then vitamins, and so on. So these are all the waste which are generated in the body of an organism. It may be gaseous waste like in plants. So the gaseous waste is oxygen usually, which is released as an end product of photosynthesis. It is not utilized by plants, but during respiration the oxygen is required, essential material over there. Then nitrogenous waste may be in the form of ammonia, urea and uric acid. So salt, vitamins, water and all those things you already know. That is, the major salt is NaCl, which is thrown out of the body. So excess water is also thrown out to maintain the optimum pH of the urine which we are going to pass out. So these are all the different natures of the excretory products which we are going to get rid of out of our body. So through our body. So in this excretion, we are going to mainly study about the different types or different methods of excretion, that is in plants one and one in animals. So before dealing with the plants and animals, we shall first know about the nature of nitrogenous waste which we are going to generate into our body. So there are different group of organisms which are classified on the basis of nature of excretion, that is nitrogenous excretion. Nitrogenous excretion. The first one is ammonotelism, then ureotelism, then uricotelism. So what is this urea, ammonia and uricotelism? So first let us know what are the three different forms of nitrogen. So nitrogen we are available in different forms. Nitrogen in the form of ammonia, nitrogen in the form of urea, nitrogen in the form of uric acid. So all these three are the different types of nitrogens, different derivatives of nitrogen or types of nitrogen we can say. So ammonia is equally harmful to the organisms which are excreting ammonia, that is generation of lots of ammonia, urea and uric acid in the body may be fatal in some rare situations because they are toxicants. Urea is mostly toxicant to we human beings. We are all ureotelic organisms, that is we excrete mainly the urea generated in the body, which is toxicants but is helpful for plants. So these are the three different types of group of organisms which are classified on the basis of the mode of elimination. That is, the organism which is going to excrete ammonia as its waste is known as ammonotelic organism, and they are called as ammonotelic organisms, and this is ammonotelism. Then what is ureotelism or uricotelic organisms? So what is this ureotelism? The organisms which are going to excrete urea. So excretory product here is ammonia. Ureotelism, excretory product is urea, and uricotelism, the excretory product is uric acid. Uric acid, urea and ammonia. So for this you can add on a fish as an example. For this you can add on human. So for this you can add on the example as the birds or some reptiles. So this is all about the different types of modes of excretion on the basis of the nitrogenous compounds, that is ammonia, urea and uric acid. So now we will actually begin with the process of excretion. So the process of excretion, so we are having like amoeba. The excretion takes place through contractile, vacuoles, that is by simple diffusion in the body, the waste product is thrown out of the body. Then through nephridia in animals like earthworm, different groups. We are having malphizial tubules, malphizial tubules. Then in animals like so these are the three different excretory structures in a different group of organisms like amoeba, amoeba, contractile protein, cockroach, marsupial tubules, then earthworms by nephridia. So these are the three different excretory structures in the different group of organisms. So coming to plants, so plants do not have that much well developed excretory system. It does not have that much well developed excretory system, and excretion mainly in plants takes place in various forms, like respiratory waste, like gaseous waste is going to be thrown out in the process of photosynthesis. Then some other toxicants are thrown out, the bark of the plant, that is in the form of resins, it may be gum, it may be latex, it may be. So all those things we are having in plants. Then in animals we are having that is especially when we are taking the example of human being, so we are having the kidneys. We are having the kidneys as our excretory organs. Okay, so not stressing more on all these things, we will only discuss about the excretion in plants in a brief way. Then after that we will deal with the excretion in human beings, that is the kidney. Excretion in plants. So plants do generate several kinds of metabolic wastes. So those metabolic wastes, so how are they get ridden by the body, or how is the plant body going to eliminate these toxicants out of the body? So what is happening there is they do not have any specific organs like kidney. So what do? So when the older when they are ready to fall off, so all the toxic materials or waste generated or organic compounds generated in the plant body are stored in the old leaves which are ready to shed off or which are ready to fall off. And when they are stored in such leaves which are ready to shed off, so they are get ridden by those toxicants, and those organic compounds may be tannins. Okay, then we are having quinins. So these are also the toxicants which are generated in the plant body. So usually in the tea plants and all those things, the compound is very high. So these organic compounds is very high. So it is harmful for those plants, but we can use it for various reasons. That is fluoronides and all those things we are having, which keeps us active when we just have a cup of tea, because of the presence of this fluoronides and all those things in the tea leaves, which are actually the waste products of the plants, Then we are having lots of oils like terpenes. So secondary metabolites we are having. You can take example of eucalyptus, tulsi, mint. So the different group of aromatic plants. You can take a clove, you can take a cardamom, you can take a cinnamon. So all these metabolites are actually the organic compounds which are actually having no role in the plants, but they are having role in us. Even the sandal is an aromatic plant which is giving you a good aroma. So which is of no use to those plants, but is very useful to us. So in plants the excretion is usually gaseous, and excretion is through photosynthesis. Then we are having the organic wastes like tannins, terpenes, secondary metabolites, etc. Then in the form of resins, latex, etc. So resins are nothing but the gluey structure, the gluey material or substance which is oozing out of the plant body, which we commonly call them as gum. And the most common gum which we are using in our day-to-day life is hing, asafoetide. So using in your day-to-day life, and this hing is nothing but asafoetide. So hing is asafoetide, which is also one of the resin which is excreted by some group of shrubs. Then latex is the milky substance which is oozing out of the plant body, and this is having a various role in even in the plants, as well as it is also having very medicinal values, and also it is of very commercial importance to us, the latex. Because of the latex only, so we are able to transport in such a smooth way, that is the tires. So where do you get that rubber from? So the rubber is also the latex which we are getting from the rubber plants or rubber plantations. So this is all about the excretion in plants. So where gaseous excretion is taking place while the respiration as well as photosynthesis. Then organic waste like tannins, terpenes, secondary metabolites are being thrown out of the body. Then resins, that is gums we are having. Latex, the milky substance oozing out of the plant body. So this is how the actual process of excretion takes place in plants, right? So after this, now we will deal with the next part. Now we will deal with the next part, that is excretion in human beings. So I think the time is not sufficient for me now. So it is better to start with excretion in plants in the next class to have a proper channel or continuity. Excretion in human beings. So we will deal in the next class, that is human excretory system. We are going to deal in the next class. Till then, thank you.